My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. Today we're going to be talking about Palmer, and we're going to be just kind of giving you the bird's eye view of really what Palmer, Alaska is like. Partly this is, just part of my job, just to show you what it's like living up here in Alaska. And also, I wanted to get out and use my drone. So there you go. Enjoy, and we'll have a nice little voiceover, just kind of showing you the aerial footage and kind of just talking about Palmer in general. Palmer is an idyllic little town in the Mat-Su Valley surrounded by mountains, rivers, glaciers, and farmland. It's seen a lot of growth in recent years, but it still retains a lot of its small town charm, from its quaint downtown to its focus on local events like the Colony Day parades. Unlike its neighbor Wasilla, Palmer is trying to stay as small as possible to retain that charm. Population. Projected population for Palmer is right around 6,614 people, and like I said before, that really just indicates that there's just not a whole lot of population growth for Palmer, and it's really out of intention. There's a small increase since back in 2015. There was about 6,135 people, so approximately a 500 person increase for the population of Palmer, which isn't that big over the course of a decade. I suspect that these numbers don't really take into account people who are living just outside the city limits, but it does kind of give you an idea that the Palmer is just not a bustling metropolis and kind of retains a lot of its small town charm. Wasilla, on the other hand, is the population there is just over 10,000, so you can see that Wasilla is really trying to grow as quickly as it can, and Palmer is trying to stay as small as it can. Topography. This really does vary. It can be anywhere from being on the side of a mountain to a flat area where kind of the commercial heart of the town is, or it can be on the riverbed of the Mat-Su Valley, or just a really wide open, green farmland. It just really depends on where you're at. Well, for the most part, it's pretty level, and also you do have the mountains and rivers. They really do play a role in the topography of the area as well, so it kind of depends on where you're at. Housing. Housing is more affordable than Anchorage, but compared to the Wasilla, on average, it's about $30,000 to $40,000 more than it would be to live in Wasilla. Wasilla is right around about $4, and kind of the upper, I think it's $440 if I recall correctly. So Palmer is right around like $480,000, $490,000 on average. And there's a lot of development going on the north side of the town, and a few other pockets where you see some development going on, some little subdivisions, but for the most part, it's really trying, again, to kind of retain kind of its small town feel, and they're not necessarily encouraging a lot of development. Homes, though, are a lot newer on average, with more room and a lot more things you can do with it over in Palmer as compared to somewhere like Anchorage. So if you want a remote cabin vibe, you can definitely find that out here, but most people are just looking for kind of the conveniences and the amenities and all that, while also getting some privacy. They're not necessarily trying to go completely off-grid. Lifestyle. Most people who live in Palmer do so because they want to have a place in which the pace of life just really slows down. There's a real focus on Palmer on family events like parades, the reindeer farm, the state fair, the muskox farm. There are a lot of great things to do in Palmer, though, for those of you who are more inclined towards the adventurous side. Like Government Peak Recreation Area isn't too far away, and along with the Hatcher Pass as well, which in Hatcher Pass you can do the hiking, you can do skiing, sledding, you can do backcountry skiing. I know it's a different type of skiing, but believe me, I know it's still skiing, but it's a different type of skiing, believe me. And paragliding, there's just all sorts of things you can do in Hatcher Pass. You've also got the Scenic River that you can float on, and the sandbars if you are really into the four-wheeling scene. And I think it's the Jim Creek Trail, if I recall correctly, where a lot of four-wheelers do go out to really just have a great time and blast up and down the sandbars. Plus, there are tons of mountains you can hike on, such as Matanuska Peak, Pioneer Peak, and like I said, Hatcher Pass as well. Pros and cons of Palmer. All right, now let's go ahead and talk just some really 30,000 foot view pros and cons of living in Palmer. So on the pro side, I'm going to say that it's a small town and it's got the vibes and the beauties and the conveniences of that you could really hope for the most part here in South Central Alaska. There are a lot of really family-oriented events, and behind all of this, you really kind of have an agricultural background that still exists up here. Palmer was founded with the intention of it being literally a colony. That's why they call it the Colony Days Parade, because it was actually came out of the New Deal back in the 1930s, 1940s, in which they were trying to put a bunch of settlers up here in Alaska to really colonize and to really start producing some agricultural crops and develop Alaska. Some people stayed, a lot of them didn't, and it's still kind of just a legacy that you see here, both in the agriculture and in kind of the pride that people take of, being one of the first families up here. On the con column, it can be very windy because the Scenic Glacier is not too far away, and it's located at the end of a kind of a narrow valley up the Scenic River. And what that does is anytime you've got that, big piece of ice essentially just sitting there, that really creates a lot of high pressure, low pressure. And so that's really what creates that, the wind effect coming into and out of that valley. There's also limited shopping up here, and conveniences are sometimes a little challenging to get, just depending on what you're shopping for. They've got really the basics and all that, but you're really not going to be doing like any real specialty shopping up here. Palmer can also get crazy during the state fair, so if you're really wanting to avoid large crowds at all times of the year, and there's just no time of the year you're going to be down for it at all, then just know Palmer is going to be it's going to be pretty busy, pretty hopping during the state fair. In conclusion, Palmer is one of those absolute Mayberry-esque towns in Alaska that really makes you appreciate all that the state has to offer. While it's not perfect, it is a great spot if you're looking for the slower pace of a small town that has some conveniences that aren't too far away.